Friends. So we already started and come to know that what is Python, why it is using, why it is globally trending. So everything. Okay. So on this session, we are going to see how to install the Python on the Windows and Linux. If you want to install in the Windows, you can Google it. Go to google.com and then type that Python download, and you can see this URL on the first. Download Python means python.org. Use this link and you can see that download Python 3.13.0. You can click this, so automatically the download will start. The latest version will be downloaded. So after that, you can double click on the exe. So I already installed it, so to show you guys I'm just uninstalling my existing Python. Just give me a minute. So just taking little bit time to uninstall. Let's wait for the uninstallation. It is almost more than 50%. Yeah, it is uninstalled successfully, right? So I am just double clicking on the downloaded file. Now it is showing few options. You can see install Python 3.13 64-bit, which I have downloaded. Okay, there is a option called install now and then customize installation. Below that there are two checkbox. One is for use admin privileges when installing Python and add python.exe to path. So you need to check this both the checkboxes. Why? Because to install a package we need admin privileges. So I'm using that checkbox. Then I'm adding the Python path to use that Python as a command. So for example, in Windows or Linux, if you are using some command, we will not use the absolute path. Absolute path means where the command is available. We will not use, for example, if we are using Windows, in Windows I will use simply the command prompt. So there I will give dir. So this will give all the available files and directories in the present working folder. So I'm not giving here the full path of dir, right? So same like that in Linux also there will be some other commands called ls. To use that means to execute those commands, I'm not going to use the full path. So instead of that, I'm giving the Python path to export it. Okay. So for that only I'm checking the second checkbox. Right. So now we need to click on install now. Here you can see includes IDLE, pip and documentation. create shortcuts and file associations. So I will tell you about the ideally. Okay. So this pip is also another package management. So this will help you to install the package pip. Okay, pip is the package management tool. It will help you to install the some packages. So mostly we will use pip to install the Python or some Booto when we are doing the automation with AWS to create some instance or to do some operations on the instance using Ansible. On the time we will use Booto. So some packages will be installed through the pip. So I hope you know the package management tools. In Windows, you can download the exe, or in Linux you can use the M package management to install any packages. So for that we need any one of the repository to be configured, or repo configuration file to be installed in my server. Okay, so I will tell you about the ideal. So now you need to install the Python. So to install the Python, you can check the two checkbox and then you can click on install now button. Now it will take some time to install. So we are doing the installation in Windows machine. So it is installing using the means including the ideally, right? So ideally we'll talk about ideally now. So to write some programs in Linux or Windows, we need some tool, right? So if you are writing some codes, it will be a file actually. Then it's going to be saved in using any format, and then it will be run using the required tool. If it we are using now Python, so we are going to use the Python to run the program. So in the same time, if you are writing some other code like C, C++ or some other thing, so we will use those compilers, right? So now this ideally is a editor actually. So there we can write the Python programs and we can run the Python programs ideally. So this will be included while we installing the Python itself. I already showed you, right? So I installed in Windows machine right now. So let's see how much it has done. Setup was successful. It is showing, right? So I'm just closing it. Now as I already told, there is a ideally, right? So we have installed in Windows machine. So if you want to install in Linux machine, you can use default command called yum install python. So here I have AWS console. So if you are using any AWS machine, EC2 instance, the Python is already installed. Let me show you. So I already logged in. There is nothing, the instance which is running. So I'm running some instance. For Linux machine. This is Linux instance actually. So I'm logging in now using the public IP. So for that I need putty to log in. I'm connecting the EC2 machine now. So this is my key pair which I already downloaded for this EC2 instance. So I'm connecting now EC2 user. So I'm changing the appearance. I'm going to change settings, appearance, and then font size, font style. So that will increase the font, right? So I am switching as root user now. Now you can see in every EC2 instance, means Linux EC2 instance, the Python is already installed. So before that, you need to check Python hyphen version. So now it is showing the version. So this is the latest version which is already installed. If it is not installed in your machine, you need to use install Python. This is the command to install the Python in your machine, Linux machine, right? So now you can see the Python. Before, when I am checking the Python version, it was 3.9.18. Now again I am checking the Python version 3.9.19. So it was updated, right? So you can use simply yum install Python, right? So we know how to install the Python now. So we come to know how to write a program and run the program in the Python, right? So for that, in Linux you can write some file called hello.py. The py is a extension. Even if you are not giving .py, it will execute. But uh, to know or to come to know the understanding of what programming or what related files it is, we are just giving the .py extension here, right? So here I am writing and using some function called print. So this print function will be helpful to print a string whatever I am giving inside the bracket and double quotes. It will print. This is my first Python program on Linux. So I'm giving this and just saving it. Now to run this, you can use Python 3 because I installed already Python 3 only. Then the file name. So then it will show you the output of the program. This is my first Python program on Linux. The same thing you can do it on the Windows also. We have installed in Windows and Linux, and finally we have run some program on Linux. Now you can create and run the programs on Windows. So for that I already told you that IDLE will be installed when I am installing the Python, right? So the IDLE is a editor, okay? So we have a VI editor. It's like a notepad in Linux. Okay, in Windows we have notepad, right? It will be the VI editor also will be like that only in Linux. So we used that, we created file, we ran the program, right? So now what we need to do is in Windows I need some file or I need some compiler or interpreter, something like that, to write the program and to run the program, right? So for that only, when we are installing the Python in Windows, the ideally will be installed by default. You can check that after installing the Python. You can check on, means click on the Windows button in your keyboard. Then you can type ideally, you will come to know this package is already available, ideally Python 3.12. So once you clicked on that, you will see the window of the ideally editor. It's a editor to write some Python program and execute it. In real time, you will have n number of editors: Visual Studio Code, and in Apache we have some other editors. So something more, it is n number of editors you can see. Okay, so as I know, I have already used ideally as well as um, VA editor in Linux. So it is the main things we are using. Okay, so now I opened the ideally, which is a editor to write some program and execute some program. So to write some program, I already created one program to print hello world or hello in Linux, and also I executed. So now I'm going to create the same file in Windows also, right? So I installed Python in Windows, right? So for that I create, means open the ideally, then file, click on new file. You can see it is creating the new file. Here you can type the same command. So print in the brackets, within the brackets, in the double quotes, hello world. Okay, now I'm just saving the file. This ask you can see the by default the save as type is Python file. You can use any file name. So I'm just giving hello. Okay, it is saved. So you can run this program from here itself. That is the advantage of ideally. So now you can run this program. You can see the output of hello world, right? So like this, you can install and create, and then you can run the programs, right? So now hope you come to know how to install the Python in a Linux or Windows. Most probably in real time we are using Windows or Linux only. So I have shared the steps how to install the Python in both. You can use that, and then you can create the Python programs. In the next sessions you will come to know how to install, means how to use variables and data types, what are the data types available in the Python programming. This is the programming language. Also the Python is a open source language, so you can use, you no need to buy anything, you no need to pay anything to use the Python, right?